Okay, good afternoon, yogis. I am here at the studio because I have to test out something. And the good karma is that it worked. The scanner for the studio worked after not working for 10 days. So yes, I am ready to start. And so we should start with the 3 prostrations where you are just giving appreciation to the teachings that you're about to hear. Okay. Let me just do this voice recording in case it doesn't sound very clear. But if you can also open up your prayer sheet. I guess they're not really prayers, but they are the opening dedications, which is meant to set our intention for the class. And so we're going to start with offering the mandala, and we'll still do it in English, though in the coming weeks we'll try it in Tibetan. So take a look here. You can read it out loud or read it in your head. But here is a great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, bearing a jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnam Madhulakam Nirtayam. And then you turn to the second page, which is the refuge and the wish. And this is exactly, I guess, extra relevant for this class because this course is about refuge and today's class is about the wish. And so usually we do this one 3 times. So again, you can read it out loud or repeat it in your head. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood, for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. And as it's been 2 weeks since we had class, I guess really 3 weeks, we don't really talk about refuge in this class. I thought I'd just kind of review that to start. It says go for refuge. And so what does the word refuge mean? It means going for protection, in something outside of yourself. Like if you just came in from the rain, and if I was fine without my bike gear, my bike gloves, then it wouldn't count as protection. But because my rain jacket, rain pants, rain gloves, everything kept me from being completely soaked. Yeah, that's a form of refuge. And that the truth is, we go for refuge in all the time. Many people go for refuge with food. I personally say I do. I'm not feeling good. Usually when I'm a bit tired, I want sugar. Um, went on a trip just these past 2 weeks, and I would say food is a refuge, not just for my wife, but for many people in China, in Beijing and Shanghai. Um, I would say that for many people in the world. Um, yeah, it's I'd never have thought of listing it as a hobby before, but I would say these past few years, I've noticed that it should be, and it probably is for many. Obviously, we do it 3 times a day, but there's food tours. There are gazillion TikToks on places to eat. People are always snapping pictures of food. They even call it food porn. Um, yeah, and when you're traveling, I don't remember when I first started whether it was such a big thing, maybe because we didn't have money. So food was just something you wanted to get to fill your tummy. Um, Obviously, you wanted good food, but in the early days, you couldn't afford nice places. So, um, yeah, it wasn't the main part of it. But as I speak with friends now, maybe because I'm older, because maybe we have a bit more money, it usually is about good places to eat and yummy things to eat. And I'd say in half of my wife's pictures, they're not of me, not of sights, but probably of food. So yeah, we take refuge, just using an example of food, but we many people take refuge in their phone. I guess that's another thing I've seen in these last few years that um, you know to avoid boredom, to feel stimulated, I guess. Um, they look at their phone. And this was the first trip where I actually had data. I usually only have 1 gig of data. So I don't really look at it unless I have to, look for directions or something important when I'm out. But this time I had 10 gigs, and you know, I noticed that I was looking on the phone, and I could say I was asking Google stuff about, China and the sites we're going to. But yeah, there I was on the subway with like probably 2/3 of the other people. The other third was asleep, looking at my phone. And but I noticed it, and I did stop, and I got to just enjoy being where I was. Often in the subway, kind of just seeing the people, because that definitely is part of the travel experience. But yeah, taking refuge in Buddha, what does that mean? Well, Buddha, it's not like we are necessarily praying. Um, not like some people in Christianity might go, I'm praying to God for something. Um, we're taking refuge in the Buddha because he has completed all his needs. He's reached the final destination, and supposedly they say he's met all of our needs, which some debate because we're not enlightened. But the fact is, he's put out the teachings out there. He's emanating out there right now. Probably as you're watching me, it could be as a projection of me, or in something you read, or in a person, or in a thing. Um, so taking refuge in the Dharma, what does that mean? Well, Buddha doesn't have the power to change your karma. For some of us who are suffering right now, that's the one thing we would like, to not suffer. Turn back time to bring back someone who's passed away or who's sick, who's left us. Whatever it is that Buddha doesn't have that power. He has the power to help us by the teachings that our protection through the Dharma is having the teachings, not just I've been reading, but actually, hopefully in our mind. Because I definitely will say my journey, it's having this understanding in my body, in my mind, that's keeping me on this path. Because I guess like everyone else, I can be distracted and think of other things I could be doing on this rainy Saturday. But here I am, because I do know life is suffering. So taking refuge in the Sangha, what does it mean? Does it traditionally mean 5 monks gathering? Or just a group of people? Sometimes they refer to a Sangha as a people in a meditation group, in a yoga community. But no, that actually means people who have seen the direct perception of emptiness, that they have experienced this 15 to 20 minute experience where they see how we create reality. So this is where I wanted to move into that review, because in the last class I reviewed explanation of emptiness with a pen. And that's a classic one. And the story you might have heard is that it takes 10,000 teachings or more for that really to sink in. Because it's not a really difficult thing to understand. You'll probably go, yeah, that makes sense. But as soon as you hear it, you'll go look at something else. And again, it will look like it exists outside of you. That's how we are hardwired, because of our karma. So anyway, this is what I'm going to show you today. And I'm going to come a little closer just so you can see this object. I'm pretty sure you don't know what it is. I definitely didn't. My wife brought it back home. Hopefully you're guessing. Your mind's running through all the possibilities of what it is. And I will tell you that actually this is a tool used to make sourdough bread. My wife actually hasn't used it yet, so I don't know exactly what it does. It came with some other tools to make sourdough bread, and that's part of that kit. So this is a perfect example. Unless you made sourdough before and you bought this kit, you wouldn't know what it is. That, just say you look at my sweater, you identify right away it's a sweater. But with this object, there's probably nothing in your mind that could place a label on what it was. And so this is an example that though something exists outside of you, the meaning comes from your mind. The way that you can easily label that I'm wearing a sweater in the same way that your mind is trying to create a definition for this. That if this was actually self-existent, it kind of existed outside of you, then everyone would see this as a sourdough maker. Everyone in this class, everyone on the street would just see it and go, oh, sourdough maker. Unfortunately, they don't. I've heard some people shout out they thought it was a special type of whisk. I forgot what else they said, but this is supposedly how our mind works. We see the physical object, and the mind places a definition on it. So you might kind of go, okay, yeah, that fine, I'm good with that. But instead of maybe an object, what about a person? Think of a person you like, you cherish, you love. Probably you feel that wonderful feeling that you feel about them comes from them. Kind of like it exudes from them. Think about them now. Don't you think so? Probably don't think it's coming from your mind, that you're putting this label on them about them being so loving and wonderful, and that you want to be with them more, see them more. Just thinking about them makes you smile. Yeah. You think it comes from them. And that is how we see reality. But in truth, that projection of these wonderful feelings is coming from you. Not that you're choosing them, not like you're going, oh, I am wanting to like them, loving them. But it's supposedly coming from your karma. It's coming from things you've done in the past. That's being projected onto this person. Kind of like that person is like the movie screen, or everything outside you is a movie screen. Your mind is a projector, and the film that's feeding the projector is your karma. Whatever you said, you've done, even your thoughts, all those create the karma that shows the projection. And so now, if you kind of accept that, or maybe if you don't just what they say, sit on it, think about it, meditate on it. But if you do, now shift your focus to someone you don't like, that triggers you, that upsets you, that's done you harm, that you're angry at, you hate. You probably are pretty certain the feelings you feel are because of what they said, they did, or didn't do. Yeah. Isn't that true? It's them. But I'll ask you to, again, see them as empty. That, here's the example that Geshe Michael Roach says, that he made a mistake I think in the diamond business, I think ordering too much or paying too much, causing a big loss to the diamond company. Big boss calls him in and just is reaming him out. It's costing the company a lot. Can't get a refund, and he's getting it. And yet most people would be standing there witnessing this and go, yeah, you're getting it from your boss. This is not nice. But in the same room was his wife, was other people in the family who have big shares in the company, where this mistake by Geshe Michael Roach now affects their profits, their bonus, their company. So when they see the big boss yelling at Geshe Michael Roach, they don't see that necessarily a bad thing. They see the same thing as someone helping the company, reprimanding the person who made a mistake in a way that hopefully they won't do it again. So same situation, but can be seen differently. Same object, but can be seen differently by different people. And even this sweater. Yeah, maybe some people will think I'm wearing a blanket. Might not see this as a sweater. Someone from the Amazon. An animal, baby, would not see this as a sweater. Right? So yes, the truth is, according to Buddhism, that everything is empty. That the definition you see or feel or think about something isn't the way it is. It is to you because of your karma. And it may be for many other people, but that's just because they have the same karma. So, I mean, when you hear something, this teaching, it's, well, what does it mean? How can it help me? Well, as I said, it's meant to give you responsibility. And instead of, use the example of the boss yelling at you, blaming the boss for being mean, not understanding, not being kind, it is what you feel, and you realize that you were like that to someone else in the past. And if you want to stop that, I know I definitely wanted to stop getting yelled at from my wife, from my kids at some point. Yelling back at them was exactly the wrong thing to do, because I was just going to plant seeds to see this happen again. And that I did that. I had to admit, sometimes I couldn't control it and I just yelled back. And that became my karma that then I would see later on. So I think one thing I haven't gone over in the first two classes is 4 principles of karma. They say if you're talking about emptiness, you always need to talk about karma because they're 2 sides of the same coin. So what are the 4 principles of karma? One is that karma grows. Yeah. So just say, for example, my wife yells at me out of the blue. That happened on the trip. Just like I was yelled at. And if I had just even in my mind thought like, oh, I'm gonna, you stupid bitch, just thought that. Might not even said I bit my tongue. But that thought, the energy behind it would grow. And if it didn't, um, I guess the example is like a big tree grows from a small little seed, apple tree from one apple seed, that things grow. And, example I had is when I was young, I did steal. I would go with my brother, you know, and instead of a runaway car that takes the thieves away, I was kind of like the runaway car. I wore a knapsack. My brother and I would go into the mall, find stuff that he likes, put it in my knapsack, thinking I looked young and innocent and no one would check. And so then we'd head back to the park, take out the toy, throw away the wrapping, and then bring it home. My mom not even knowing where we got it, thinking maybe we borrowed it or got it from a friend. And so, yeah, it was repeated for a while. I mean, I didn't get like a whole room full of toys, but we had our share. And so years later, made this investment in Fort McMurray. Thank goodness I checked in with my wife and she agreed that after making, I think 200,000, we added another 100 and then another 100. And that's we invested 500,000. My friend was a little caught, just like worried and kept telling me like, how's it going? How's it going? We get updates. Things were going well. We're invited on a helicopter tour. Investor was, in the later years, wanting to build a commercial space as legacy for his kids, as early investors. Me, whatever we put in, we'd get 10%. Or sorry, 10 times the amount. 10 times the amount. So yeah, and then what happened? Karma happened. Karma ripened. Forest fires in Fort McMurray. Flood after that. I think another flood after that. So you can imagine what happened. All the seed money that he used to supposedly put a deposit on this land disappeared because he didn't, I guess, get the rest of the money to put in to purchase the land. So he lost that deposit, went bankrupt. You could see, I saw the list of like about 50 other people like me who had invested, many, a lot less. And there, my wife and I were like, oh, that was retirement money. Yeah, luckily it wasn't all of our retirement money. I won't even say luckily. I'll say karmically, we were blessed to have a home here in Vancouver that during the same time increased like 6 times. So yeah, we still owe that money. Until we sell our home, we don't really earn the money that our house has gained. But it hasn't sunk us, though my wife did have to go back to work after that. And yeah, it affected definitely our family trips. Instead of going off somewhere for a month like we did, we went camping. So karma grows. Second principle of karma is definite. Good actions lead to a good result. Bad actions lead to a bad result. So this is where the example is a thief who does something bad by stealing and getting the money from his actions. To him and to other people might seem like a bad deed to lead to something good, that he's having money. But actually, Buddhists will say that a bad deed that he has done of stealing is going to grow to a result later on. And the result of him getting money comes from a past action, not from stealing, but from a past good action of giving money. So, yeah, that one definitely helps explain when you may see people in the news, family members, friends who do something bad and seemingly getting something good. They are two separate things. So the third one is if you don't do the action, you won't have the result. If you don't do the action, you won't have the result. And this is a really good example. Just say someone wants a partner. You know, if you don't help someone else get a partner, you may not attract a partner, have a partner yourself. If you wanted more money and you didn't give money and plant that seed, you won't get that result. You don't plant the seed for a crop. You're a farmer, you want corn, you don't plant corn seeds, you're not going to get corn. And so the fourth one is kind of like the reverse. If you have the result, you did do the action. That example of corn, the farmer sees corn in the fall. Yeah, there's a chance he didn't plant it. Maybe his wife planted it. Maybe some animals dropped some corn seeds, but if his field was full of corn, someone planted the corn. And so if you have wonderful karma, I got some great karma this morning or yesterday, calling the stockbroker and him telling, oh, your investments have increased by 50% in this year. This year's not even over. Well, I was telling my wife, I'm not completely like obviously this is great news, but I do know I planted the seeds of giving money, that instead of just my early days investing or saving 10% and investing them into so-called assets, I have now donated that 10%. And so I felt like we've planted the seeds, and now the results are that there is more money in our lives than it's coming from that. So just note that karma, the thing that may make it seem a little mysterious is that there is no set time frame for when it ripens. That they'll say that if you have a headache, it could be from some karma that you just did, some not so good karma. But that other not so good karma doesn't have to be from this life. It could be from a past life. The karma you do now could ripen in this life or the next life or any of your future lives. Obviously, knowing that it'll grow. So, yeah, that is what I wanted to share about that. And so, yeah, this is really important that to understand for if your destination is Buddhahood, enlightenment, total enlightenment, as mine is, I do have to plant the seeds. one reason I'm teaching, one reason I'm practicing, meditating, because I know this is what I need to do to get that result. So maybe one more thing to review as it leads into what we're talking about today, bodhicitta, is a review of the three principal paths. That actually was the first course, and that you have heard me say in this course that one of what Buddha said was that life is suffering. One of supposedly the four Arya truths. Well, he also said there is a cause. Second point, there's an end to the suffering. There's a cause to the suffering, there's an end to the suffering, and there is a path to the end of suffering. And so part of the path is these three principal paths. One of them is renunciation. That, is accepting that nothing here in this world will make you happy. That, as I mentioned beginning of class, if you do believe anything in this world will make you happy, traveling more, having more money, having the partner of your dreams, being surrounded and with your favorite family members, friends, you'll soon realize that it doesn't stay. That usually what goes up does come down. That things are uncertain. Life is uncertain. I definitely witnessed that on my trip. If you tell someone, you're going on a trip, most people are really excited for you. They know you're going to have a good time. Yeah, people say be safe, but they're like happy travels. Have a great time. And yet, when you go on as prepared as you are, and I've been on many trips, so I know how to prepare now. I'm even prepared to get my stuff prepared when I return so that it's not so stressful. I prepare what I need to do. Sometimes I even now prepare to have some food in the house when we come back. But despite all the preparation you do, you can go away like I did. And some of you might say, oh, it's just jet lag. But yeah, the first few days I got there, it was just not comfortable, fun. My back was sore, I was tired, and you may go, well, why didn't you just rest? Well, Susan, my partner, wasn't. She was excited to get up and go. So what I'm going to say, I'm going to stay in and rest while you go. She asked me to go with her. And so I kind of toughed it out and just, walked to the point I got a blister. And that is painful when you're walking. No blister cushions, tried Band-Aid, back so stiff. If I didn't do yoga, I would actually really think I needed to see a doctor. But yeah, it just, and funny enough, I wasn't prepared for it. I definitely wasn't expecting it. But when it happened, having read this, remembered it, just knew I was just burning off bad karma. So renunciation, what we're going to talk about more is bodhicitta, and that is the wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of all beings. We're going to go into more detail about that. But the third path is wisdom, understanding emptiness. And that's what I kind of shared with you earlier in the class. But yes, today we're talking a bit about bodhicitta, the wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of all beings. And so when you hear this, you actually may agree that really it is made up of 2 points: the wish to reach enlightenment, right? And second, to help others. It's for the sake of other beings. So you're also wanting to help others. So really it is 2 things. So there is a long definition. It's in your homework. A long definition for bodhicitta, the short one I just gave you. But just for time's sake, I will just say the Tibetan. Semke Pani Shen Bun Dui Yangde Zokpe Changshup Du. It sounds like someone is coming up. Actually, that is a Tibetan for the short form. Hi, hey, how are you? No, one sec. I'm just recording something right now. No worries, no worries. Let me come give it a pause. No, don't feel bad. I thought you might be the KY. Okay, we'll continue as the 5 p.m. teacher is coming in. Actually, Sat Tibetan was a short definition, and the long definition is first is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. So let me read it again. It's a long sentence, and yeah, I will admit it is long. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. So, I mean, if some of you have your binder with you and you go to the notes, you will see that written. And I would say just take a look at it, because the next little bit of explanation is explaining some of the words in it and why they're making this explanation longer. So it might help, but otherwise it's fine. Like one of the homework questions says, why in the long definition do they need to put the word me? Do they need to put the word me? So because it says first it is the main mental awareness. So this is where Buddhism, they say that we have many minds. So, for example, if you're feeling jealous, the main mind is awareness, and the second mind is jealousy. So that you are, so that you actually have 2 minds when you're actually feeling something. So when they say main, it could be feelings, but really they're wanting it to be the main one. Some of you know this, but even now, people agree that when we multitask, we're not really kind of able to do many things at the same time. In fact, it's really kind of like our computer, where we might have many screens or tabs open, but really all you can do is look at one at a time. Yeah, some people put multiple screens, they shrink it so that they can see it. But even if you do that, your eyes can really only look at one at a time. And even if you think you can look at both, what's really happening is that your awareness is slipping from one to the other fast enough that it makes it seem like you're doing both at the same time. Which, according to how we see karma, how we see life, why do we see things happen? And this analogy of a movie projector, it's because supposedly 64 karmas happen in a second, 64. Kind of just like in a film, they're separate pictures, but because they're moving so quickly, it looks like motion. Right? So, yeah. So that's the answer for why do they put the word main. And then it's, again, good to remember that bodhicitta, the wish to reach enlightenment, is made up of two things: wanting enlightenment and for the sake of all beings. So the second question in the homework is, why in the long definition do they put the word greater way, greater way? And so this is also part of that first part of the sentence. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way. So in Buddhism, they say there's actually 3 Buddhahoods altogether. The one that you may think of and you hear often is the one where the Buddha is at the final stage, where they have the power to emanate. They are always happy, living in Buddha paradise with other Buddhas, and they know everything. They're omniscient. Well, there's 2 other ones. One is, according to Tranchika, it's a lower school of Buddhism. The one type of Buddha is called the listeners. The listeners. And those are ones that can hear and can teach the Mahayana, but they don't practice it. So they can hear it and they can teach it, but they don't practice it. Second type of Buddha is a self-made Buddhas. Self-made Buddhas. So, just the words might seem like that. They don't need a teacher, so they don't have a teacher in this life. But the reason that they are Buddhas obviously was because they had a teacher in their previous life. So both this listener and the self-made Buddhas, they both can go to nirvana. Nirvana is where they have no mental afflictions, which means nothing disturbs the peace of their mind. But when they get that direct perception of emptiness, and a good review of that is, the state where for 15, 20 minutes, you see how reality really is. You see how your mind is creating your reality. But that direct perception of emptiness is different for the listeners and self-made Buddhas than the ones who are reaching Buddhahood or total enlightenment. So the Mahayana or greater way Buddha, the path that we're on, actually has 5 paths. It's made up of 5 paths. One is the path of accumulation, and that you're accumulating virtue, karma, good karma. The path of preparation. And then the third one is the path of seeing. This is when you actually, if you're prepared and you've accumulated enough karma, then you actually will have this direct perception of emptiness that you need to be in meditation for. That requires you to have a focused mind, which is why meditation is so important to strengthen your focus. So that's the third one. And that's even after you've seen that, you need to continue with a path of habituation, kind of getting used to what you have seen until you reach the path of no more learning. Path of no more learning. Okay. So yeah, greater way is just because there's 3 Buddhahoods. So they want to be clear that it's that third one that you're working towards. So it also says in the long definition, excuse me, why do they put the word mental awareness? Mental awareness. So where is that? Oh, first it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way. So why do they have to put the word main mental awareness? Just because awareness is, they say there's 6 consciousness. The mental awareness plus our 5 senses. So they want to make sure it is not your 5 senses that they're referring to. They're referring to your mental awareness. For bodhicitta isn't, obviously, it's not like a piece of paper or certificate, but it's when your main mind is imbued with it. You have this wish to help all beings. In the homework, 4th one says, why in the long definition do they put the word total? Total. And so, okay, that total is the last word. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it. The aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. Total enlightenment. So this one is noting that there are 2 other lower wishes for reaching enlightenment. That this is the lower scope. You might have heard of this before, where this group of people are wanting to reach enlightenment to not be reborn in the 3 lower realms, in the hells, as a craving spirit, or as an animal. But the medium scope of practitioners, they also have the first. They don't want to be reborn, but they also want to reach enlightenment for themselves. And then the path that we're on, the higher scope, is to reach enlightenment for the sake of helping other beings. So that's why they say, for the benefit of, did I say sorry? Oops. What I was just explaining is, why do they put the word for the benefit of others? For the benefit of others. So when it says total, the total is referring to the 2 enlightenments. That Buddhahood, final endpoint, is one of the enlightenments, and the other enlightenment is nirvana. As some of you heard in the past class, that some can reach nirvana, but if they don't have bodhicitta, they can't reach the final place. That you cannot be a Buddha if you don't have that wish to help all beings. You can be in a very blissful state of nirvana, and then to reach Buddhahood, you have to basically start all over, which is why, this path is saying, just, you'd say it's a shortcut. Instead of doing it twice, you're just doing it once. So there is also a second part of this long definition. Secondly, it is a knowledge belonging to the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, or something of the type, and which is included into the activity side of the standard division into the 2 of view and activity. So yeah, pretty complicated. I'll read it once more. Secondly, it is a knowledge belonging to the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, or something of the type, and which is included into the activity side of the standard division into the two of view and activity. So lucky for us, we don't have to break that down. Just to remind you again, the shortest version of bodhicitta that you might want to be able to tell somebody after you watch this, what did you learn? Oh, I learned about bodhicitta. What is that? Well, that is the wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of other beings. Right? That is the short, and you just got, two parts of a long definition. Right? So Geshe Michael Roach says there's a lot of details in learning Buddhism. Just know that this course is a shortened, condensed form of 18 years of study, and that you may not remember the details, but by studying them, you'll keep your mind on the Dharma and remember the main point. And I think that is where my teacher and the two teachers have said, yeah, doing these courses is keeping your mind on this when it could be with many other things. So the other important point is that to reach Buddhahood, if there's part of you, especially if you're suffering now, that wants to be happy. I know I definitely want to feel that, not just temporarily, not just for moments in a day, in an hour, but continuously. I do believe that is what we're all trying to do, trying to be happy every day, every hour of every day, every moment of every hour. If we're really wanting to reach that place, that we need to have this wish to help other beings. That without that wish, you cannot reach the final point. You can reach nirvana, where you're in that peaceful place, but to reach the final point, you need to have this in your mind, in your heart. The example I thought of is a sports car. If you have one or you know someone who has one, ask them what type of gas does it use. And they most likely will tell you, because it's a really heavy-duty engine that requires the best gas. That if you don't put the best gas in, you put the regular gas, it wouldn't, I don't exactly know what it does, but think of it that without this good gas, it couldn't make it to the finish line. Probably sputter and stall along the way. Whatever fuel efficiency gas normally would have, it wouldn't be that efficient. Right? So you kind of need to have this wish. And so they may talk about in the next class. I know I've heard that, in the beginning, we just need to fake it till we make it. That we just need to think of others. And I guess the last point I wanted to add about that is, if you're suffering now, and you may have heard this before, that one of the best ways to free yourself from that pain is to think of others. I remember reading about this, about the Dalai Lama in his biography, and how he was really, really sick and in a lot of pain, and how he said, the way he coped was to just think of everybody, all the beings on the planet, and the suffering that they were feeling. And that as he focused on others, he didn't focus on his own pain as much. Some of you may have heard this is how to help someone who's depressed. Usually they cannot focus on anybody else, but maybe the best way for them to get out of that is to push themselves to think of someone, to help someone else. Say to volunteer, to get out there. And so, yeah, it definitely makes sense to me. Just for sake of time, I won't, we'll end here. And so yes, why don't we do the 3 prostrations? Okay, no, let's do that final dedication. So if you go back to the first pages, it should be the 3rd one where it says dedication of the goodness of a deed. Dedication of the goodness of a deed. So by the goodness of what I've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. By the goodness of what I've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So thank you. And let's do 3 prostrations to each other. Before we end class, I'll kind of stop the recording here. Speech and mind. Speech and mind. Body and speech and mind. Thank you so very much for listening to this, and I hope to see you or have you here the next class. Namaste.